Hi, angels. I hope we're having an amazing, amazing day. I want to share something with you today that came up for me on a recent holiday. Some of you may relate to what I'm going to share. Some of you may not relate at all, but you may relate to the actual underlying message of what I'm going to share with you, which is what is the most important part. So I realized we just had a really big family holiday. So we went up to Noosa for the week. It was my mum, my dad. I had my two sisters there, all of their kids. My youngest sister, I'm the eldest of three girls. My youngest sister has two littlies. They're 2 and 4. My middle sister has 3 teenagers a bit younger than mine. And then I've got the eldest too. So, and some of the kids' partners as well. So we all went away on this big family holiday, and my parents paid for the whole thing. And so we want to take you guys away. We just really want to have a big family get together. My mum's like a super organized lady. Like, she organizes everything. She booked it in ages in advance. And this is not the first time my parents have done something like this. They've done it before. My mum doesn't like flying, so it's always somewhere. She did get out of her comfort zone once, and we went up to Hamilton Island. But I am 46 and still going on holidays every now and again with my parents and with my family, and I love it. We have been blessed to have a really close-knit family unit. That's the way that I was brought up. That's the way that I want to bring my kids up and my family up. And I had this big realization when I was on holidays that what happened? Two things happened. I went to post something about the holiday. I like to share a bit of personal stuff on my page because people like to kind of get a bit of a feel for somebody that they're following or business that they're following. They want to kind of get a feel for what you're like. And so I will often, like, mix a little bit of personal stuff in with the business post. And I went to share something on a business post, and I held back from sharing it. It was to do like with our big family. And I went and I stopped, and I wasn't going to share it. It was a photo. And I actually withdrew from sharing a lot on this particular holiday. I just shared like a couple of things, like a couple of small things. I think it was bridge jumping with the kids, and a photo like of all of us went out on pontoon boats for the day, in the week. And we, had a big family photo on the beach. And it was my sister's post actually, and I shared it. And she had on the song, shared the song on the post saying like, "We are family." And it was like our crazy kind of bunch of a family. And I shared the post, and I can't remember the words that I used, but I put up there about like one of my big values, which is, I went to put family, and I was worried. I thought, I don't want to trigger people that don't have that. And I think I might have used the words like, people love relationships or something like that. And then in another post that I put after that, I put on there, I was lying down reading a book first thing in the morning, reading this beautiful spiritual book by the water, and I shared about like relationships with people in the first post, but don't neglect the relationship with yourself. And that was kind of pretty much it. And I noticed that I refrained from sharing because what I felt was, I don't want to trigger people or upset people that don't have what I have, that haven't had the upbringing. And then I sat with that for a little bit. And then I realized that over the years, I'd had people say to me, like when I was really young, when I had my second job, I worked at Macca's. And then when I worked at the bank, I had somebody say to me who had a lot go on in her life. And she said, "You've just got this perfect upbringing," and it kind of made me feel happy, grateful, but also a little bit like, it was the first kind of time I thought, well, not everybody is blessed to have something like this. And then I've had people say to me, even just recently on last year, I think it was on a retreat or something, somebody said like, I can't remember the words, but this is the messaging. This is the words that people have kind of said to me over the years. "We didn't have an ideal childhood like you did. You seem to have the most perfect upbringing. Like your childhood was perfect. I'd love to have your parents," and things like that. And it made me feel like, I was not embarrassed. I was not ashamed. I was not. There was never, not guilty. Guilt's probably not the right word, but there might have been a little bit of element of guilt where I felt like I'm so blessed that this was my upbringing. This was what I know. And I'm going to dive into a little bit about that in a moment, but I just want to set the scene. But I felt this bit of, I don't want to upset anybody that didn't have that, like I can be, I know I talk about don't be a people pleaser, but I can be such a people pleaser where I don't like hurting people. I don't like upsetting people. I don't like putting anything up that might trigger some hurt or some past trauma in other people. So I kind of refrained from sharing a bit about that. Then what also happened when we were on a holiday, we caught up with another family member, an aunt, and she shared with us a comment that somebody had said to her around your family's so close, because my cousins have got, which I'll go into in a moment, very, very similar upbringing, but their family unit, like their immediate family unit is close as well. And somebody made a comment about how, like, oh, it's not normal, like you guys are way too close for my liking or something like that. And I said to my aunt, like I said, this is our norm. Like this is how we were brought up. This is what we know. However, what I'm seeing is, number one, hurt people hurt people. So if people have gone through some kind of hurt or some kind of trauma or some kind of not nice experience, it's easier for them sometimes to hurt other people or to say not nice things because there was an intention behind this hurtful comment to hurt somebody else, and hurt people hurt people. And I said, and secondly, that's not his norm, like people only know what they know. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing the more people I speak to, the more families I've been associated with, the more people that I've been working with, the more I'm realizing that what I had growing up is not the norm. It's my norm, but it's not everybody's norm. And so I want to unpack that a little bit today, because I realized that I was afraid to put a part of myself out there for fear of judgment. What are people going to say? Oh, it's all right for you. You had the perfect family and things like that. So I had this kind of fear of judgment, fear of triggering people, fear of upsetting people. On my personal pages, that's different. People know, like what I'm like personally, but out in my community and in my, like on the podcast or on, in the studio. Well, some people know in the studio elements of what our family's about, because my dad goes and my dad's a chatterbox like I am. And so people he talks about his family a lot because he's very, very proud and loves us all dearly. But I just had this feeling of I've been holding parts of myself back because I didn't want to upset anybody. I didn't want to trigger anybody. And I had this realization that I can't help the family that I was born into any more than you can't help the family we were born into. Nobody can decide the family we're born into. I think that we're all here for certain, I believe, and you take out of this what you want. I believe that we have some kind of, whether it's a soul contract or lessons or experience that we're meant to learn in this lifetime, and how we kind of got here, or the lessons that we went through growing up are part of our journey. And I know sometimes they can be hard for people. We've all gone through hard things. And I know sometimes they can be triggering. And I know sometimes that people aren't born into blessed circumstances. And so knowing all of that, I was very conscious of what I would share. And I started to sit with that, and I thought, hang on a sec, why should I keep parts of me hidden? Like, this is me. This is who I was born into. This is how I was brought up. Our story, our upbringing, it all shapes us. It all shapes the way that we are now and the decisions that we make moving forward. But we can't help the family that we're born into. That is, whether it's a bigger divine plan that we are meant to do, that we're meant to learn, that we're meant to become from being born into these people, family, situations, circumstances. That's out of my control. That's out of your control. I think that's a bigger purpose. There's a bigger intention. There's a bigger plan that I don't even completely comprehend. And so I started thinking about all of that, how we can't help what we're born into. And then I started thinking about how we can hide parts of ourselves to fit in, and we can hide parts of ourselves or keep ourselves small. And I had the realization that if I want to manifest everything I want to manifest, if I want to attract my desires, if I want to really show up authentically, if I want to really help and motivate and inspire my community, this is me. Like, this is me. This is who I am. And I'm going to be really open and transparent about that. And it's either going to, it may trigger some people, but it might inspire some people. Because what I sat with when I was up having this family holiday was, I was like, wow, like I'm so blessed that mum and dad have done this for us. You know, they've taken us all away for the week. And it made me, this is how it very first started. I thought, I want to do this for my kids, you know, like I want to be able to take my kids on holidays. Like as they get older, they're going to go on and do their own thing, have their own relationships, have their own families. But I still want to have times where I bring everybody together. That's my mum. Like my mum is the bringer of people together. She organizes and she just always has a way of doing that with the whole extended family. And I want to be able to go away and take my family, pay for my kids, pay for, you know, my kids' partners and their kids, and take them all away. That's just something that's important to me, and that's something that I want to be able to do and Tom wants to be able to do. So I sat there feeling really grateful for what we have experienced and the inspiration and the legacy that it has left me to want to do to continue with the generations. So a little bit about my upbringing. So to give you an idea, so I did not have a traditional upbringing at all. I had my parents had, I'll go into their career in a moment, but I was born into, my mum and dad are still together. My mum is one of 7, my dad is one of 4. All their brothers and sisters are still together. So none of my aunts and uncles are divorced or separated. They've all got kids. Every single one of them have got between 2 and 4 kids. So like I'm the eldest, I've got 21 cousins on one side and 12 cousins on the other side, and I'm the eldest of all of them. And I am blessed to have such a beautiful big family. Everybody's okay, everybody's alive, everybody's healthy. Yes, we've had ups and downs. Yes, there's been, you know, like there's always some kind of conflict or drama in every single family, absolutely. But all the family units, all the kids get on with the parents, and that's kind of how we've been brought up. I had all my grandparents growing up. I'm down to one left, my beautiful, beautiful Oma. She's still with me. She is 84. She had my dad when she was super young. She was pregnant at 15, 19, 40, 55. Yep, she was 15 when she had my dad. So I was blessed. She was a grandmother to me at 38. Like some of you might be 38 and have young kids, or you know, still be raising kids and go, oh my God, how can you be a grandmother at 38? But that was what I knew. People mistook her for my mother at times. And so I lost my grandfather when I was a teenager, and then right up until only like, and my other grandfather passed away maybe, gosh, time flies, 7 years ago. And my nana back in, I think it was 2013. So I was blessed that we've got a generational photo of my Riley as a bub. It was Riley, myself, my dad, my Oma, and my great Oma. So there were 5 generations of us living at one time for a little while, which was absolutely beautiful. So I'm blessed to be born into, we got a big family. So growing up, Christmases, we would all get together. It was always like my nana's Christmas Eve, nana and granddad's, and Christmas Day at my grandparents, my Oma and Ulpas. So we always had like everybody would get together. Everybody lives in the country. There are some a little bit scattered around, but everybody is in the country, some closer than others, but that's life, right? Like everybody moves away in distance, everybody has their own lives and their own stuff going on. And yeah, there's definitely been conflicts, there's definitely been drama, there's definitely been, you know, stuff and generational stuff, like every single family unit has. Like we're all human, we're all here living a human experience, we all have stuff, absolutely. But as a general, you know, like a general overview, I was born into a family that's 2 loving parents, loving grandparents, siblings, 4 loving grandparents, siblings, and everybody was around. And so that kind of set up a real foundation. As I got into my teenage years, I was like, you know, this is what I want to have. You know, when I get older, my goal was one of my big goals was I want to marry a man like my dad, not exactly like my dad, you know, no girl does, but yeah, like a big part of I want to have a relationship like my parents. Like I want my man in my own unique way to be like my dad and have what my parents had. So that was kind of how I was from a family like unit brought up. But we didn't have a traditional upbringing. I was brought up in a racing industry. My grandfather was a trotting driver. Dad trained greyhounds. We grew up on 10 acres. I never saw my parents go to work, but they worked damn hard. So we had like this beautiful big property. We had all the dogs. There was always people coming and going. It was quite a very social upbringing. I know even Tom said to me, he goes, man, I remember when I first started going out with you, because we've been together since we were 16. He goes, I was lucky to go to McDonald's growing up, and you guys were out at the racetrack. Dad would have a big win on one of his dogs would win, and he would take out like the owners or people. We'd all go out and have this big celebration at dinner, often like the Ashmore Steak and Seafood restaurant. There'd just be tables of us. So we just had this big kind of a social upbringing. At breakfast of a morning, like we were up, mum and dad worked so hard, 7 days a week, barely took a holiday, and from super early in the morning till late at night, breakfast, there were people there were people that worked on the property, or friends or owners. There was just always people around. We had a very, very social upbringing. But the thing I really remember is, I love where we were brought up, is I never saw my parents go to a job. We worked together as a family. We had to work on the property. We either worked or we paid board as we started to get that little bit older. So we grew up with a really strong work ethic, and we grew up in this really lovely family unit. And I saw my family work together. I saw like dad had a business. A lot of my uncles had a business. My grandfather had a business. They were successful, wealthy. Dad's in the Hall of Fame. They were, they had a freedom. I never saw them get stuck going to a job. And I saw comfort. We had very, very comfortable lifestyle growing up as well. And it instilled in me from a young age that I don't want to do the 9 to 5. I want to be able to make different choices. I want to be able to work my own hours. I want to be able to have a really close family unit based on the upbringing that I had. And so growing up, I saw my dad and my mum, like got the most generous, beautiful heart. And I saw them, my dad has always been both of them. My mum's a lot more quieter behind the scenes, and there's always that strong woman behind the family's success. And most of the time, I shouldn't say always, but there's often a strong woman behind a man, right? And so I saw that my dad has always been so true to himself. He's always been so authentic. What you see is what you get. He could be talking to the president, or he could be talking to a homeless person. He will treat you exactly the same. He will give you the exact same time of day. There has been no ego with my dad. With all of his success, he's been so humble. Both of my parents are so humble. And they said to us growing up, they said, if you want to go to uni, that's fine, but there was no pressure. They said, but don't go to uni because your friends are going, don't waste your time and our money going to uni just because you feel that's what you have to do. Go and do what you want to do. So we didn't have this pressure. We had this beautiful, I guess, freedom to express ourselves. And my parents are positive. Like my parents are so positive. They are always, the words that they would use, they would always encourage us to be ourselves. That, dad always tell us we look beautiful. Our mum always encouraged us. Like, we were really blessed in the way that we were brought up, that I know that it helped give me a level of confidence. I haven't always been 100% confident, but a level of confidence in who I am. But there's always layers, right? There's always layers that we have to work through. It also come on the flip side of, there were parts of me that were maybe a little bit embarrassed because mum and dad did something different, like if dad would pick us up after school and he had like the dog trailer on the back or something like that, I would be like, oh my goodness, this is so embarrassing as a teenager, because it was different. But those that really knew me and those that really knew my family, like our friends that would come over, they would go, I love your parents. Like, they are so cool. They would love hanging out on the property. They would love spending time with the dogs, because people would come over and go, who lives there? It was like we had this enormous kennel block couple. It looked like a big house. It was air conditioned, security, like this beautiful, beautiful, big brick building. That is how much my dad just loved his dogs, and still does. So our friends would come over, they would interact with our family, and they would help us on the property and come to the races with us. And it was just really, really different. And my dad has always just been so authentic and just so what you see is what you get. And it didn't matter who he was talking to. He's just always the same person. I've had so many people have said to me over the years, I'm a better person for knowing your old man, because he's so generous. He's so kind-hearted. He helps people. He just wants to help people. He goes and hands my brochures out to people. He carries them around in his car because he loves what I offer. He loves our teachers. He loves our community. And he will say to people, you need to come and, come to my daughter's studio, come to Earthy Angels. The ladies there are so nice. They will take care of you. He comes and tells me about all the classes and all of the people that he chats with and how much he loves all of you guys. And that's just the kind of person that he is. So that was kind of how I was brought up. I was brought up in a way where my parents were very, very humble, very kind-hearted, very generous, but just so true to who they were and what they did. And I've seen them attract a lot of stuff in their life. I've seen them overcome hurdles, overcome challenges, overcome obstacles like many people, but I've always seen them be true to who they are. And that was a real blessing because it made me, I guess, just have this desire that I want something different, I don't want to do the norm 9 to 5, retire when I'm a certain age and then go travel and then live after that. Like we lived our whole life. Like we really were encouraged to live and do what lit us up. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So I was very, very blessed. And so where I'm going with all of this, so I have had people, there's been parts of me, like I said, that were proud, grateful for what I brought up to. There were also parts of me that was very, this is different. So I know that I've been juggling with parts as I've gotten older and as I've started to embrace a lot more of the woo, a lot more of the different things that a lot of this has resurfaced where I've kind of felt a little bit, I guess, hidden a few parts of myself and afraid to put it out there because it's different to the norm and afraid of being judged, because there is definitely times I've seen Dad with the tall poppy syndrome. There's definitely times I've seen judgment. I've seen criticism. I've seen him have to overcome things like that, being really well known in his industry. And so there's always a part of me that kind of held back a little bit about putting my whole self out there for fear of judgment, for fear of criticism, for fear of being different. But then on the flip side, I've seen the reward, right? Like I've seen, if you want the same results as what everybody else is doing, go and do the same thing. If you want different results, you have to do something different. So I've seen the flip side, and I've seen how you can actually have, for me, success and wealth isn't just about money, like I've seen a lot of my family, I've seen my family have success in many different ways. Success in abundance, in health, in relationships, in family, in wealth. I've seen all of that, but it's more than just money. I've seen this like big package and this big picture, and that's what I understood is to be really, really important is success is this picture. Success is all the things. So I knew growing up, that's what I wanted. And I met Tom when we were 16. We met in high school at 16. And he has just been he's the most incredible soul. I just love and adore him dearly. And I was so blessed to meet such a beautiful person at such a young age. And we got our first house. Like we got married. We got married when we were around 21. Yes, in the year 2000. So I was about to turn 22. So married at 21. I was the first out of all my friends to have a baby. I fell pregnant at 25. We had Riley. I had got 2 kids. I fell pregnant both times. I had a few different, a few things I'm not going to go into now. Definitely had some ups and downs with my pregnancy and with Riley's birth and a few things like that. But overall, I'm so blessed that I met my high school sweetheart at a young age, that we got together at a young age, we set ourselves up at a young age, but we also didn't want for as much stuff, right? Like we had lots of hand-me-downs and because we just had a goal, or we just want to pay our house off as quickly as we can before we have our first baby. So like we worked 2 jobs, he did a lot of cashies, a lot of overtime. I'd work at my parents' place early in the morning, then I'd go to my job. And so we worked really, really hard in kind of setting ourselves up so that when we had kids, I could be a stay-at-home mum with them. So I have been very blessed in my upbringing, and it has formed part of where I want to take my own family and the legacy that I want to leave with my own kids, and how I want to bring my own kids up. And what I realized the other day was there's part of me that was, I guess, holding back on putting that out there because I didn't want to trigger anybody. I didn't want to upset people, because I've had the few comments, like I said, like we didn't have a childhood like yours. We didn't have an ideal, perfect family like you've had. Like I wish I had your parents. Like there's definitely been things that have come up for me like that has made me, I guess, play it small. It's made me keep that part of myself hidden out of fear of upsetting anybody. And I've had really close friends who have gone through upbringings where there was sexual abuse, where there was trauma, where they have lost parents, where they have got close friends who've moved over here from other countries that don't have that, and what we have, and they come and spend Christmases with our family and things like that. So I don't for one second take for granted what I have. And then I have seen people who have done two things. I've seen people who have play out the same patterns if they have been brought up with trauma, or if they have been brought up in not ideal circumstances, where they have continued and it showed up in different ways, whether it's through abuse or through there's so many different ways it can show up, right? And then I have seen people who have are really close friends who have gone through not so great upbringings and have said, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go and I'm going to change. I'm going to be the change for the generation. My kids are not growing up that way. Like my upbringing was shit, and I am flipping it because this ends with me. And I've seen them do the work. I've seen them go and see whether it's psychologists, whether it's energy healers, Reiki healers, kinesiologists, generational healers. I've seen them do the work, and I've seen them make changes, and I've seen how the cycle ends with them, and they are going to make different changes with their own family, and it's going to be a complete change of generational legacy that they are leaving to their kids. And that is a really hard thing to do. That's a really hard thing to decide that, it ends with me and I'm going to have to put myself through the work because it's easier. There's been things that I've healed generationally through the family lineage as well that I have worked on healing, and it's not easy. Like it's definitely not an easy thing to do. And there's also been parts of me that as a teacher, as a business owner, as a leader, as a podcaster, as sharing with my community, that this is where I want to go with this, okay? I just wanted to kind of set the stage a little bit first, that I've thought to myself, am I going to be a good enough leader? Am I going to be a good enough role model? Because I haven't had anything go wrong with me. And when I say wrong, I've definitely overcome things. We've all overcome things. But in the big picture, I would look at people like, you'd hear stories like, Tony Robbins and the things that he went through from his childhood. There's people that have had the father abandon them or things like that. And there are other people, I was listening to a podcast the other day, listening to a few different speakers, and they were talking about this drive, how this drive come from what they were brought up in, the situation with domestic violence, the situation of their whole family unit, and how they wanted to escape that and how they had to leave that. And then it drove them to run their businesses. It drove them to make changes. It drove them to inspire people. So I started thinking to myself, well, who am I to be a good enough leader? I haven't overcome these obstacles. I don't have those big lessons that these people have overcome. And I had to sit with that because, well, the first thing I thought was, I'm grateful for what I've had. I'm not turning around and saying I want any of that. I'm very blessed with what I've had. But it made me question my ability to teach. And then I had to think about it and thought, well, hang on a sec. How I have been brought up, the family unit that I have been born into, and we can't help what we're born into, it has made me want to continue that forward. It has made me want to share that with other people, to hopefully inspire you to make change, to inspire other people to make change, to say, hey, you know what? Whether you grew up with this or not, this kind of upbringing is possible for your children. This is possible for you to make changes where it can be normal for you to have love in the family unit. It can be normal for you to take your family on, like your extended family on holidays, and have goals to drive you to bring in enough income that you can do that for your family, to be really interactive with your family. It can drive you, it can inspire you to make changes for your life and for what you want to do moving forward. Because, we can't help our circumstances. We can't help what we're born into. We can't help what's happened up until now. But from now, we can decide what we want moving forward. We all have that ability to decide to make changes. And we all have that ability to go, it ends with us. Either I can make changes, or I can be so blessed and grateful with the lessons and the upbringing or the people that I have had in my life that I want to continue to do that forward, and I want to continue to leave that legacy within my family. And I really sat with the fact that if I want to bring in the things I want to manifest, if I want to open myself up to the desires, if I want to be the leader that I want to be, if I want to be the inspiration, if I want to be the coach, the mentor, the teacher, I have to embrace all parts of myself and show up authentically. Embrace the good, the bad, the ugly. We all have parts of ourselves that are good, that are bad, that are ugly. And I have to embrace all parts of myself and really show up authentically, and know that my blessings, know that my lessons, know that my upbringing, know that my relationships have all formed part of who I am now. I can sit here and reflect, and I can see how like from a business point of view, I had one flip side, like one family side of the family was more wealthy and more driven and had more business. The other side of the family was not as wealthy growing up, but had this beautiful big family unit. Like mum used to say, we drive up to the Crystal Castle, and she go, that was the house at Mullumbimby that we grew up in. We had 7 kids in a 3-bedroom house, a room for Nana and Granddad, a room for the girls and a room for the boys, and 1 bathroom. But this beautiful big family unit of love, there are certain parts of our families that we can learn from. There are certain parts of, and it might not be family, it might be people that have been around you that are either going to teach you lessons, are going to show you what you do want, or are going to show you what you don't want. And we can't help who we were born into just as much as I can't help the family unit that I was born into. So I thought, why am I being embarrassed, or I'm not ashamed, but why am I hiding that part of myself for fear of opening myself up to more judgment, for fear of more comments like, oh, look at you, aren't you lucky, or aren't you blessed? I didn't have that. I hated that. I hated getting those kind of comments, and that's something that I had to sit with, and I had to work through. And there was also this part of me that goes, you are always going, when you show up authentically, you can't help, you're not going to please everybody. There's always going to be people that may say some things, whether it's to your face, whether it's on comments, whether it's behind closed doors. There are always going to be people that are going to say things. And what you have to understand is they have to sit with, why did they make the comment? Where is that coming from for them? You can't help what people say. And I want to ask you the question, are you playing small? Are you keeping yourself small? Are you dimming your light? Are you holding yourself back because you want to fit in, because you don't want to rock the boat, because you don't want to upset anybody, because maybe whether you've had, it doesn't matter what kind of upbringing you've had, whether the good, the bad, the ugly, fear of embarrassment, whether it's for the good things, maybe you were privileged, maybe you come from a trauma-related family. We can't help what we were born into. But are you hiding parts of yourself because you are ashamed, you're embarrassed, you don't want to trigger anybody, and you just want to fit in and you want to be accepted, because we have this basic human need of acceptance. We want people to like us, like we want to be accepted. So I want to ask you the question, where in your life are you keeping yourself small? Are you hiding yourself? Are you, like maybe you're so smart, maybe you've got so much intelligence, but you act dumb, you play down your intelligence to fit in. Maybe you've got these really big dreams and goals and ambitions, but people you're surrounded by, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, they don't think like you. So you play them down and you keep yourself small, or you criticize yourself to fit in. It's like you go to a party or you go to a social gathering, and what do most people do? Most people in conversation, they might talk about people, they might judge, they might criticize, they might bitch, they might talk about, oh, I hate myself, look at this. So what do? To be part of the conversation or be part of just wanting to fit in, then you kind of feed off the conversation and you diminish your light, you diminish your value. You go, yeah, I actually hate this part of myself too. Like you kind of keep yourself small to fit in, and you hide yourself to fit in and to be accepted, instead of really embracing who you are. It could be, like maybe you've got this, maybe you love dressing up and being really, really stylish, but you dress down to fit in. It could be the opposite, where like you're surrounded by all these people or women who do themselves up all the time, or who have money or have wealth or have like they're more of an ego, so you go along with that to fit in. Like you feel like I have to, I just want to be more casual and want to be more laid back, but I've got to go through, do my hair, do my makeup, do all the things to fit in with the women or the people at my workplace that I'm hanging around. How often do you diminish your worth, or do you lower yourself, or do you dim your light to fit in with people around you? Maybe you try too hard to impress. Maybe, like it could come from a place of you're ashamed or you're embarrassed of certain parts of yourself, that you just keep yourself playing small. And what I want to encourage you to do today is to embrace all those parts of you, because they are the parts of you that make you who you are, the good, the bad, the ugly, like, and we can't help where we have gotten to right at this place, like you can sit in the, I guess the trauma or the emotion or the depression of what's been, or you can make a decision to go, I'm actually, and look, maybe everybody needs we all need some degree of healing. I do, like I definitely do. We all need some degree of healing, but it might not be healing from overcoming trauma, but it might be personal development work or self-development work or spiritual development work for you to really step into your power, for you to step into your light, for you to step into your purpose, for you to go after the things that you want. We all need to do some kind of work on ourselves, but we all need to really start showing up more authentically, embracing who we are, and just knowing that from here moving forward, we can make changes. We don't have to dim our light. We can work on ourselves, but just really, really showing up and embracing the beautiful person that you are and your package, your whole package. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with that today, is just this realization that I had around how I had been holding certain parts of myself back. How I want you to look at what parts of you are you doing that are holding yourself back? What parts of your limiting beliefs, what parts of your blocks, what parts of yourself are you keeping small and not really putting yourself out there for fear of judgment, for wanting to fit in, for wanting to just, keep up with the circle of people that you're around. Maybe you've outgrown your circle, maybe when you start to show up more authentically, not maybe it will, when you start to show up more authentically and really embrace your style, your intelligence, your worth, your upbringing, all parts of you, you will attract the right people into your life, the right people who are meant to be there for you, when you really start to show up more authentically and embrace yourself. Don't dim your light, angel. Don't play small, and really, really honor the beautiful woman that you are. Anyway, I hope that helps give you a little bit of perspective, give you a little bit of, moving forward. this is me, and this is who I am, and this is how I am going to, you'll probably understand a little bit more in future episodes that I share. I've got a few coming, where this is all kind of stemmed from, and my upbringing and the kind of person that I am and the legacy that I want to leave for my kids, and have a think about that for you as well. You know, like maybe listening to this episode today, maybe you haven't had the kind of, I don't even want to say the upbringing that I had. It's in your own way, okay? Like I've been blessed with the upbringing that I have had, 100%. You may have also been blessed in your own way. You may not have been completely blessed in, but there are always blessings in every situation of how it's going to shape you for yourself in the future, that future self version of you, the things that you might have overcome that are going to make you the powerful person that you already are, that maybe you just don't see yet, but also the legacy that you want to leave for your own kids, for the future generations, the things that you want to do for your family that you might not have had the upbringing, you might not have had the money, you might not have had the time. There might be limitations or blocks around your own upbringing, how we can look at reprogramming that moving forward so that you can have the ideal upbringing for your children and for your grandchildren, if that's what you want. You know, if you might not even want kids, and that's cool too, but the way that you want to leave a legacy moving forward, I hope that inspires you as well. Have a beautiful rest of your day, angels, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.